feeling it's alright.
That was vibrating into your work.
I've got a feeling I'm not fine. Baby, you're my little baby.
And here we are with another episode of Dialogues with Interesting People. Have the great pleasure to have today Kuni. Am I pronouncing correctly? Or is it Kuni? Or tell me how it is, because I always call by artistic name. And then if you want, you say your name or everything you want about you.
Oh, it's fine. Actually, it's okay to call me as Kuni. It's actually Kuni with the U very similar to the Italian sound as of the U because it's Japanese. It comes from Kunimitsu, which is the name of a character of a video game.
So it was good, the first pronunciation I used. And as usual, we have Kuni, then we'll tell a bit about her background, what she likes into life, artistic path, or everything she wants, because the first part is completely free to be with everything you want to say about you, or you don't want to say about you, you don't.
Okay.
We'll find in other ways eventually, but it's completely free there.
Okay, well, so first of all, thank you for inviting me here because it's really
a pleasure and honor.
Yes, for me too. So, well, a bit about me. Well, my story with music goes a long way. I've been living with music and for music for all my life. And when I was very, very little, I was a child, I was just 10 years old. I remember seeing for the first time this movie, School of Rock, which is really cool. It's still one of my favorites. And I remember distinctly seeing it and thinking, okay, I want to do all of it, all of that, all of what I was seeing was so fascinating to me. From the stage, so the children, the kids that were playing, to the backstage, to see the management, it was all like the coolest thing I've ever seen. Of course, I was 10 years old, so I mean, it was pretty impactful for me. And in that moment, I realized music was my thing. But then, of course, I mean, you grow up and you do different things. You waste a lot of time in doing a lot of different things. So I kind of got distracted by, adolescence and high school and things. And for a long time, I sort of not really abandoned the idea of music because I've always listened to music. Always. Not a day in my life went by without me listening to music. But I sort of started to think that maybe that was the thing for me, just listening and enjoying it. And it was okay because, I mean, I felt like I didn't have the bright shining star in me that could allow me to make music. So other years went by, and then I just sort of felt it inside. This wasn't right. I had to do something, had to say something. I didn't know what, but I had this urge inside. It was really strong. And so I started looking for jobs with music. And I started working with bands. I started making the manager myself with other artists. And I started working for events and concerts and festivals. And whatever I could do with music, I started doing. Because I just wanted to put my hands on music. I had to find my way. And then I think 3 years ago, maybe, I started writing the first things. Because, of course, as you know, I've started study singing, it was 6 years ago when we met, I believe. And that opened a whole new window to the world of music for me, because I discovered that, I can sing, actually.
But, it's fun. What is very fun to me, and it's very important in my work, even when you don't see that harmony immediately, is that I know perfectly that when we connect functional, meaning true voice, to your system, you start writing.
Okay.
Access to that. And there you see if you want to write or you want just to play, but you have access. It changes something immediately, and it is perceivable. That is very, very fun. That is very fun because I had no idea when I started teaching that it was exactly in that way.
Okay.
And now I know that it's something that even if it takes a longer time to have a better voice, I cherish to maintain and connect because it is such a important thing for the person inside and for the motivation and for their placement in the world after that you don't have to procrastinate it.
Okay.
Because you relax and at the certain time you have a vision that is a better vision than before. It becomes clear out of the time and you get strategic and a lot of anxiety goes away in some sort of. It's like if you could see your place vibrating into the world, even if you are not yet there.
Yeah.
And and usually you start composing. But it's
it's fun in a way. I mean, it's just like you say, and I don't know if it's the same for everyone. I think that each of us like maybe gets to feel it in very different ways in very different moments of their lives. And I don't know, but this is just what I thought.
And so 3 years ago you started writing.
Yeah.
And I see here something that is a hum to me, a feeling, sleep baby. What are they?
Well, these are the very first songs I published with a label. I actually found a label that wanted to work with me, and I'm always, this is great for me because I never take anything for granted. It's always a surprise, always something amazing. I don't know. I think that I've been used for so much time to not have much faith and confidence in myself. That I don't know, even now that I'm doing this, it is as if it comes as a surprise. I don't know. I don't know if I'm explaining myself. But.
Of course you don't. It's the outer world that show you this kind of value. Me too, when I was singing, I never had the idea of the value I was bringing. I knew the serious and the love I was bringing. Yeah. And the process I was trying to, and this immense love I have for music and to get making these and shaping and things. But it was mostly the feedback from others to say, okay, I'm not reading too much this. Wow, okay, we are doing that in that moment together. They perceived not only this love, but this form I see. They saw this form with me while I was doing it. Okay, fantastic.
It is.
But to me it was, you're a singer since they call you to be a singer. You don't decide to be a singer. I've seen that there are people that they know they're singers and they are singers and then they get to be singers. For me, never been like that. A little surprised as you.
Yeah.
So, but it's very rewarding, don't you feel that? And it's very cherishing and it's so pure, nice.
It is, and it gives you a lot of energy because every time you get the recognition and it sort of boosts your energy. It's like, okay, now I want to do more. Now I want to make more music and I want to write more. And it's great. It's really great. And I'm so happy to be feeling it for the first time in my life. So these songs are the very first ones that I published. And I've written them, I think, maybe around 2 years ago, because it took me a long time to write them and then have the courage to bring them to the studio, because of course I had a very precious help in this because my boyfriend is a music producer and he works in a studio, so he encouraged me a lot to do this, but it still was a thing to take these songs and give them to him. I don't know, but anyway, so I gave them to him and we worked on them. And so I found this label and they're free now. They're free to go. And I don't know.
You have other in project to make them come out?
Yes, I have one in progress. Actually, I'm going next week in the studio to record the drums for this time. I'm very happy, and I'm working on new things, and I'm also looking forward to a collaboration with a band from the same label I'm working with. So I'm very, very, very happy.
How many elements in the band? What instruments?
There's three, and they actually have their own project, which is very solid, and of course much more solid than me, because they have been playing for 10 years now, almost. What's that?
Great.
Yeah, no, they're
Nice
really, they're amazing. They're this trio. They make some kind of electronic pop, and they're very delicate, very chamber pop, and they're so cool. They're from southern Italy, from Puglia, and but they sing in English as I do, and they're very cool. So I'm very happy about this. It
I'm
sounds
very curious to hear what will come out. So, you told me there are new things into your work horizon, etc. Other things that has to do with the music, even if you're not directly a singer. Do you want to talk about, or do you want to talk about some other passions that you can have? I have the idea that you have some little passion for your cats. Sorry, it's dogs. No, this was a church. You have a passion for your cats.
Yeah, well, to be honest, I'm really passionate about all animals. I love animals. One of my dreams would be to be living in a really huge house with so many animals. Like, I want to be surrounded by animals. I love them so much. But I mean, of course, I'm also very lazy, so I wouldn't want to, pick up after them and clean, and the things you have to do when you have animals in your house. But yeah, I do love my cats. I love them very much. So yeah, they're a passion of mine, of course, and I have a lot of different interests. But in the last few years, I decided to channel my energies into music, because I realized that it's probably a good thing when you're growing. I want to say older, because I mean we all grow older, but to decide what you want to do, because I've been very passionate about cooking, for example. It's something that I've always been passionate about, but that I realized maybe just once in a while, I don't want to waste too much time on that. The one thing that really passionates me a lot is writing. I've always been writing since I was very little. I've actually learned to write and read by myself when I was 3 years old.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, I don't know why. Well, my mother always tells me that she used to read me stories, and when she couldn't read them to me, she just gave me the books, with figures and images, and I used to pretend to be reading, and I was like blabbing something, like I was 3 years old. I wasn't really talking much, but I was blabbing a lot. And she always tells me that one day she was like putting her makeup on, and she was listening to me blabbing, but my blabbing was a little bit too much sense. She was like, this sounds real. This sounds like not something she made up. So she looked at me, and I was reading the things just like that.
Absolutely fantastic.
I don't know why.
But we are quite special species of animals.
Yeah, very. I don't know how things like that.
We're bringing the other animals toward us, and the other animals are using us to get faster than we did on some things. I have this idea, but it's my idea, it's my speculation, so it has no value and perhaps no sense at all.
But
It's
it's
just sorry.
It is very interesting to make an observation like this.
I have the idea that the dogs have become dogs because they loved this interaction we had in, how can I say, showing them love. And they choose to be at our service, to have access constant to that. And then, of course, we selected them when they were more at service, of course. But it's like the reverse idea that usually we have, that they show us love. I think that we showed them love, and they picked it.
Yeah.
And they said it's so precious that we can make the change with the freedom. And then now we are learning to give them freedom back. But because I think in those things we take a long time to evolve into, and to evolve into awareness of those things, and to choosing those things as something precious, even if it doesn't at first look precious, because we've decided that they're precious, and we evolve in taking those kind of things as the most precious into our lives. And but I don't know, again, perhaps it's completely an image and an idea and an illusion, and that a delusion of my mind. I know perfectly. I don't pretend to be right, you know. I really don't pretend to be right. It's just an idea that came. Perhaps it's totally made up.
No, but it's very interesting. We would have to ask them and see if they agree with this. But I think you have a point. I mean, I think animals are much more intelligent than we traditionally gave them credit for. I mean, we always thought that we are, you know, the most intelligent species, and we are, of course, in a way, but animals are so much more intelligent than we believe. So
probably we're less different than we think.
Yes, also.
Different. Sometimes we are very, very different, and some other times we have many things in common that we didn't think we have. Probably we are also evolving there. But I wanted to ask you, what is it to be a musician and a songwriter, and probably, perhaps, I don't know, an interpreter also, in these epochs of plenty of music? Why I make this question? Because it is quite new for human beings, and also for me, that I'm quite old. This year will be 52 years, so you know, I've seen something that, of course, there was the web and the internet before, and the radio, and starting the archives of music, and this having music everywhere, and production of music, also homemade of high level from everywhere. But I was born when it was starting. So I have the memory of how we thought and we developed without, because of course you have the knowledge of others, and the world is shaped from some decades previously. And you have that as a dialogue in the first part. And then you see coming and the difference. And it was the first time in which you had access to so much, also the comparative aspect. Before we had the written music and the contemporary, and eventually the chronicles of, they said this singer was doing that, but by description. Now you hear. And of course, and especially we have so much access all the time. So what it is for you? Because I'm asking because I have so many different answers that is fantastic.
Okay. Well, I do have a precise thought on that, because I've always reflected on this aspect a lot. Both as a listener and as a musician. Because the thing is, we live in this era where there's a lot of democracy in this, because everybody has access, and everybody gets to give and get information from the music archive, digital archive, generally speaking. But as a musician, this is, I believe it's both good and bad, because it's good because you have your space, and you have it in a much easier way than you could have like 20 or 30 years ago. I don't know, but it's very different. And now you have so many means, so many tools. It's so much easier to talk to people, to find places that are not like directly close to where you live, but also around the world. You can actually get everywhere you want. So this is good. But the bad thing is that now, because of this democracy, everybody feels like they have the right and sort of like the
entitled.
Yeah, it's like a duty they need to do this. And I don't know, I have the feeling that it's difficult. It's weird to say, because of course you can't read people's mind, and it's very, very hard to understand what they really want to say and what they feel. But I sort of have the feeling that it's not like everybody wants to do this because they feel that kind of urgency that making music or every other kind of art calls for. it's like, oh, so yeah, I have the access to do this, so I will do this. Why not? Everybody's doing it, so let's do it. And this creates a lot of noise and a lot of crowd, and it's complicated because you have to find your space, which you have technically, but you have to find like your very specific space, which is not confused among the others in all of this noise.
You know, when I've seen the Grammys and I've seen Lizzo winning, she made a second album better than the first. What it means? It means that she showed what it is to be really a musician.
Yeah.
Because the first, as Carla Bruni and others, can be very touching and very right and very precise and very precious. But from my point of view, that I have to help changing the attitude when the attitude doesn't fit the path of your personality, of your creativity, of your possibilities. That to me, they're always greater than what students or professionals I work with usually see, because I have the luck to see the potential that is there. So it's always more. Then they have to see if they want it, if they choose. In that, it is true that the first line is crowded, but the second line is pretty void.
Yeah.
And what I see is that if you don't try to do in the first line the best of your life, but you just do the process as always been done by the very good ones, you are going to produce, you are going to have a curve, because you are going always to have a curve. You go up and then you'll go down and then you'll go up again, cyclical. But this curve will not be at the highest point in what I see now, exactly in the first point, but in the second.
Mm-hmm.
And usually you get serious by studying and doing what we usually did before, previously, in between the first and the second album.
Okay.
And there you see that the crowd goes away. Meaning that you just don't try to have all the space you need and is good for you initially. It will selection by itself in what I see again, that is just a little part of the world and the echo chamber I enter in contact with. So it has perhaps my expertise inside, but it's not that relevant in absolute, of course. But I see that if you go on with the good process from the first to the second, you find your specific place, and this space is never occupied, because this space is for those who really want to do. The first, I have the impression, is that for human beings to create something and to let this something there is crucial.
Yeah.
Now we do with music. To me, it's fantastic, but I know when a student comes and decides he wants to do, if he's acting as he wants to do or not. And I give tools and options, he will make his choices. And the choices will be not what he says, what he's doing. But I know that from your point of view, that you have the first, and he has a good feedback, you say, okay, but to make the second, I must place my first. I can understand perfectly.
Yeah. But I feel also what you're saying, it's totally true. And I feel it as a listener, not as a musician yet, because of course I'm moving my first steps. But when you listen, as you were saying, as you listen to second albums from other artists, and you feel that they...
Harry Styles was fantastic.
Yeah.
And he's still growing.
Yeah.
Because he's putting really the process inside, you know.
Yeah.
It's not just that he has something to say as a human being, that of course he has. And of course in this democratization, to me it's very important that we have given knowledge, access, tools to everybody. Why? Come on. This elitist thing for which you can have access to good voice lessons and the very good voice lessons and the very good concepts only when you've proved for years that you are there. It's okay, but it's another world. So you can have access. Now it's your responsibility what you do with. So it is also that, so you don't submit yourself to the choices of your maestro or teacher anymore, but you cannot blame your teacher if you don't get where you have to go, because it's much more on you to take the pattern and make the choices. So it's much better, and it gives options all the line of the life. That is fantastic, because you can. But if you think, for example, the group, the National,
Yeah.
they become very successful and renowned quite later from a marketing and age point of view. But why? Simply because they want to be really ready for something really lasting into their path at a certain point. It was not so late, but it was quite late if you see in the marketing history of previous years. And they could have access to everything because the quality of what they're putting is so relevant that it just went on. And there are those that they took some time and then it doesn't stop. Why? Because they did what it was in the process. And there are a certainty there. And they didn't take the place of others because the world is quite vast, and that's fantastic. It's not to tell you, don't worry. It's not to say that. It's to say it has become very diversified. The first line is very crowded because you have pretty good material also from people that will never do a second one, or will do a very not good second one. But because they don't put their life into that. So they don't adapt to become something, how can I say, beyond that specific personal that they put there. You have to get beyond you and to transcend, from my point of view, to transcend yourself, to find yourself into another adaptation that is you plus some other things, and you start evolving there. And there you become really you from an artistic point of view, from my point of view. But it's a point of view, again, that is an old style for some things. I mean, advanced as usual for some things, but I'm also old style. So perhaps it's just an old style thing that I'm putting in. I don't know that. Reality will show, you know.
We will see. We'll see what happens. But
I'm pretty sure of your second. Okay. Second, how are you searching for your voice? And when I say your voice, it's not just your technical voice or your singing voice, but your voice as artist, as human being, as relevance, as everything you want.
Well, it's actually kind of a ongoing process for me. What I do, I realized at some point by studying my voice technically that I needed to do that, and I was really interested in doing that. But more than studying my voice as how it works and which notes I can take and all of these kind of things that are fundamental. If you want to sing, if you want to make music, of course, you have to know how you work, because otherwise it's difficult. I mean, but once I realized like the wider base of how I do work, because I believe I still have so much to learn about how I work, but I'm at that point where
it's a rabbit hole that never ends.
So yeah, that. But at some point I just said, okay, I learned how to begin a sentence. Let's put it that way. Now I know how to say things, but what I'm trying to focus on is what I want to say, like the content. And in this, I'm trying to answer to your question as of how I'm searching for my voice, as in how I'm trying to express myself. And this happens with a research of the things that made me. Like I'm very attached to my past and to my roots. And even though I have some kind of difficulty identifying my roots for very different reasons, for example, like if you're asking me what are my roots, it's hard for me to say. So I kind of get attached to the musical roots that I have. So I try to be faithful to like the things that went with me growing up, like the music that I listened to, the thing that spoke to me when I was growing up. And I make this process where I try to, it's like going in a circle. Like I start from here and I go back, and then I just walk around the things that happened that happened to me and that happened while I was listening to music. I don't know if it makes sense. I'm sorry. It's a bit.
Yes, it does completely.
Okay, so this is what I'm doing now, and it's much more difficult than you think before you start doing it. You think
It's a sort of organized messy.
yes.
But a messy.
It is.
It's not whatever. It's absolutely not whatever, even if it looks messy. And you have an insider that pushes you to do some precise thing. Now I work on that, now I research on that, now I relax and I let go. No, I don't let go, I let do into myself. When I started doing some kind of repertoire, especially some kind of Schumann and Schubert repertoire, I had to stop going to expositions and to read. I had to stop. Otherwise, I couldn't let those cycles get and take control of me inside enough to know that they could grow using me, and then I could be them. I really felt that, as if I had to give them a part of my soul, a part of my thought, a part of my life, and I had to take the other and especially active part and artistic to stop existing, to make them grow there.
Yeah.
And now, for example, I know that I could have been a sculptor, and I've done some things at home that you've seen, and other things more artistic. And some friend who was one that went for the agency to take painting and things told me, Lucia, go on, you really have something. And I said, I know, but if I get there, I lose the music.
Yeah.
Because it's at the place. And I have to change to make myself be completely changed to become really effective there. So I made for a little period because I had really necessity and music wasn't serving me to put that out. And then I said, and then I stop. Why? Because otherwise I have to become, and I can't be both, because both, it will be amateurish level. It will be superficial, stupid. And I feel that I'm not honest into. But again, I know that some people can do many things in parallel and doing. It's not me. I don't know why. Probably we are simply different. That's fantastic. You are in some sort feeling this inside certainty of how your path must be. That can seem absurd for another, messy for another one. And you feel that there is a congruence into. And you feel growing into. That's quite fun, this.
It is. It feels like a constant work in progress, but something like growing and then just stopping and then just dying a bit, but then like being born again. It's a process. It's ongoing.
Yeah,
but it's fun. It's something.
It's fun. It's quite exciting, isn't it?
It is a lot. It gives you a whole new insight on who you are and on the things you thought you understood at some level, but then it's just all other things.
Yeah. Does it give you another kind of perspective on the others?
Like my research, the things
Maybe that now when you have friends who understand people, you say, how much I don't see and they're doing, perhaps.
No, it does a lot. It does a lot. I mean, it does. I can't find words to say, but it feels like you put on some glasses or a whole,
and you see another world.
Yeah, and the feelings, you start to see feelings and like dynamics with people. It's weird but fun.
Are collaborations important?
They are a lot. First of all, because what I learned by making music, and it's very recent for me, but it's something I'm still learning, is that if you don't share the things you do, it's basically like as if you're not doing them, which sounds superficial, sounds very simple. But if I just decided to take my music and put it in, in the, like, just leave it in my room and not share it with anyone, I wouldn't be doing it now. So this is the basic thought on this. But collaborations are very important because they give you a whole new perspectives on what you're doing, and also they give you suggestions on what you haven't thought about. Like, okay, so I didn't think I could do this, but now I know that I can do this because I collaborated with someone that showed me the way.
Are you just recording, or are you also doing live concerts?
I'm working on live concerts that I'm not doing right now because the last time I did a live concert was 10 years ago. So I am truly threatened by the idea of being on a stage again. But I'm frightened and excited. So it's something that I really want to do, but I want to feel ready. Because, I mean, you do know, of course, much better than me that you have to be there. I mean, you have to be doing it right. You can't just go there and give something that is not complete. Or
I think you're ready in any moment.
Okay.
No, because I thought when you were talking about the collaborations, I was thinking in myself, okay, I will ask her back if she wants, when she will have done some lives. Because again, lives, how can I say, it's like an MRI. It gives you exactly the shape of what you're doing.
It does.
And it's quite amazing. It's quite amazing. And to me, that was a collaboration,
Okay, yeah, no, so, okay, perfect.
Meaning that to me, the public is an active collaborator of what you're doing. It doesn't, how can I say, take control, etc. Of course you do, especially when you do classical music, as I used to do, because you have freedom to do a lot of things freely that those who don't play classical have an idea on classical that it's you have no freedom. You have a lot of freedom. You have a lot of freedom. You have to earn it because you have some frame of styles that, how can I say, you must be at the level to maintain those frame and to earn your freedom into, but you have a lot of freedom. And you don't give this freedom to the public because they don't know, but actively they work with you. And you can make dialogue with you, and it's quite something. It's quite something. And they tell you who you are and how you're doing, and that's very refreshing and very kind. Usually, it's very kind, very, very kind. It's not adoration; it's something else. It's very honest, very kind, very precious, and they give you the subtlety of things that you felt. But they make you feel that they are alive. I don't know how to say.
No, I perfectly get it. And it's a sensation that I felt 10 years ago when it was the last time that I played live. And this is what I'm longing for. I mean, that sensation is, I believe, what brings musicians to want to play. They want to play because they want to feel that. And I want to feel that. But, I'm also very shy, and I'm an overthinker. This is what I do. I overthink everything. So, but I'm working on it. Yesterday, I was playing with my guitarist. So we're actually working on a set that I don't know when it's gonna happen, but I'm working on it. So I know that I can be ready, and if they call me to play anywhere, I can go and be really happy about it because I'm feeling ready, but I've also studied for it because I need to be studying for things.
You have to study for it, to do things just to do, and no. But to feel ready, to me, it's you will never feel ready. Or I don't know, it depends on the people. Never felt ready. It was always, I have no idea what I'm going to do. I hope better. I studied as a crazy, of course, and I tried to. and I risked a lot. One day, my maestro of conservatory, he came to one of my concerts because I usually didn't do the concerts of the conservatory. I did a lot of professional concerts with the teachers of the conservatory since I entered. So I was all the time doing in parallel professional career and my courses at conservatory. And I usually didn't say in class that I was singing 2 times a week in different contexts, etc. This time he knew, he came, and after he told me, "You're crazy, you can't do that." I said, "What did I do?" "You made a high note, very high in pianissimo," meaning diminuendo, meaning coming away. He said, "You're a mezzo soprano or a contralto. You're crazy. You are going to crash and not to have the note most of the times." And he didn't know that for 3 months I was doing yoga positions, things, etc., to get to have what my mind wanted as overtones into. And I studied as a crazy. And then I risked to do it. Why? It was so beautiful. It was so correct. And then I looked at him and I said, "How was it?" Then he said, "It was sublime." And I said, "Sometimes it will be awful. But if one time it gets sublime, I think the public will, how can I say, be kinder, and the composer be kinder, that I'm trying to get where I try to be enough," because he asked me to do, the music asked me to do that. I see if it's possible. If it's possible, I go for it. Then I try to do intelligently and respectfully by studying a lot. But at the end is, I don't want safety before music. I want music before music. We try. How can I say?
I think this is the right to do.
That wasn't enough, perhaps also.
I think this is what. Well, I mean, I think it's a really right attitude to music. I mean, it doesn't have much sense to make music and try to be safe. I mean, music, it's like, it's art, it's communication. It's never exactly safe. It just happens.
So directly beyond safe. You're doing something else. You're not trying to be safe. You're trying to do something else that is quite fantastic, but you have not to feel safe to do it correctly. You don't have to be stupid or arrogant that you do just because your mind tells you to do, and you go for it even if it doesn't work, because this is amateurish, this is not respectful. Not of you, not of the music, not of the thing, but I take that on the side because I don't think it has a sense or it has a place. But otherwise it's, you try, you go, why, it's so beautiful if it comes out, that's, why not? We do for that. It's a dream and the certainty and the vision into vibration. It's something very, very fantastic that we can do, I'm sure. But as you were saying, I was feeling as you were yet on stage. So I think it will not be, how can I say, far. I didn't feel that it was a thinking that you were telling us. I felt that it was the feeling of being yet on stage that was vibrating into your words. So I think I have the idea it will not be far, and I will be very happy in hearing you. I have this little sensation.
I hope so.
What is it art to you?
Well, art to me is, well, without any doubt, a necessity. It's something I have either to make or to get from somewhere. I need it. It's like food. It's like drinking water. I can't imagine my life without different forms of art. So this is what it is to me, basically.
Do you look for what when looking for art?
I'm sorry?
Do you look for what when you look for art?
Well, I think that what I try to get from art the most is different keys to read the world, because this is what interests me the most. I think that we live in a world that has so many levels of reading and understanding and of so many things. Like, I just can't say it because we are surrounded by so many colors, images, things, and so much life, so much of everything. Then what I look into art is different ways to understand this immensity around, and especially I try to find things that are new to me. I want to be surprised and to be instructed by art. I want art to just sit there and tell me, okay, so let's learn something new today. You have another way to see this. If you see this lemon, there's another way to see this lemon.
Do you have how can I say, a second repertoire, or do you just play your music?
A second repertoire.
Do you covers? Do you play something else? Do you practice something else, or just your music?
No, I play a lot of covers because I think that playing other people's music is the way to, best way to learn how to play your music. I mean,
I have a point.
Yeah. I mean, it would be hard to just go directly on your. I mean, you can do that, of course, if you feel like it and if you're very talented. But for me, going through other people's music, it's the way to learn how to make mine.
And this second repertoire, do you put where into your creative or artistic process or path? You put it on the side as a second skin or a different layer of you, or what?
Well, it's very important for my creative process and for my own songs, music, because I take a lot from that. Because I usually like to play the things that I like to listen to, and the things I like to listen to are usually the things that speak to me the most and that correspond to what I am and what I feel, and that I try to put in my songs. So it's very important to me to take something from covers and the other repertoire and bring it to my music, both in feelings and general feelings and content and music itself.
What is it to present something in Italian music vibe?
What do you mean exactly with this?
I mean, you have a national musical environment in some sort.
Yes.
As we've seen with Måneskin or with the other that I follow, etc., they don't they don't necessarily be into the same kind of vibe, and they have to find or to create a different environment to grow into, and then to get to their natural, or how can I say, more correct, appropriate environment. Okay. Then, for example, they didn't play in places. They didn't make show. They went on the streets because they didn't have access for their style, or for how they were growing, for the specific kind of environment that we find. Okay. For many reasons, sometimes it is appropriate and favorable for the growth, and sometimes it isn't. I do this normally. You don't understand when you have a favorable environment, because you don't see that you don't have access, so you don't experience that. When you experience that, you understand. So can be also how can I say, a question that has nothing to do with you and doesn't make sense to you. So you can just, like someone told me, this question for me has no sense. That is an answer. No, it is an answer, because we want to see your window into the world. Okay. Yeah. What I'm presenting is as probably, again, it's my window and my access from the windows of my clients and students and what I know of the profession, of the dynamics of the profession, etc. That is why this kind of question.
No, I think, well, yeah, I didn't really understand it before, but, and I don't know, I'm not sure if I do have a very specific answer on this, because it's, I believe it's a bit early for me to have a complete answer with on this. But if I'm getting anywhere close to what I believe is going, I think that making music in Italy does give you it's not a very focused. It's a weird vibe, okay, because you have something good, you have something positive. Here again with the good and the bad aspects of things, but you have something good in the way in which you see that a lot of people are trying to put energy and work into music. So you're kind of invited to do that because you see there's a lot of movement. Because even if it's just people who like the idea of making music, but there's still this kind of feeling of, yeah, let's try to do something. On the other side, though, you have the very neat feeling that, yeah, we can definitely improve this general idea of wanting to make music. We can do better because in Italy, we kind of have this tendency to work halfway. Like, yeah, we want to make things good, but we somehow stop in the middle because we're too tired. We don't know how to do this better. We're distracted by other things. So it's a bit of this and a bit of that. But I don't know if I'm answering.
Absolutely. A positive and a negative of the musical vibe of Rome, because you are in Rome.
Yes.
No, it has been for Milan, it has been for UK, it has been for Belgium, it has been for others, of course.
And I know it's very different from one city to the other. So the thing of Rome is that, well, you know Rome, of course, and it's an amazing city. It has a lot of ups and a lot of downs, a lot of pros and a lot of cons. But for music,
The last 15 years has been really productive. Really productive.
yeah, no,
Really. A lot of movement, a lot of new places, a lot of new styles, and not that massive reaction just proposing trap as I've done in the north. So it's much more homogeneous, that it's nice for creative process because you can blend and you can oppose and you can dialogue with different that can be really, really interesting and pushes very well to get somewhere in some sort.
and I think that that you're saying it happens in Rome because the good thing about Rome and music in Rome is that this is a very I think that at the end of the day it's a very relaxed city. It's very it doesn't really it doesn't pressure you as a musician or as an artist to make certain things. I think that I've never lived in Milan, but I've been there many times for work and for music things. And what I felt is like, it's that when you're there, you're expected to make some specific things. Rome doesn't expect you to do anything. It expects you to do whatever you want to do. So as a musician, this is good because you know that, as you were saying, you kind of have the freedom to go wherever you feel like. You have the freedom to make the genre you want and to sort of experiment with things, which is good because art, I think, needs its space and its time, and it doesn't need pressure. Pressure, it's like the enemy of art. As far as I'm concerned, this is what I believe. But on the other side, what I think Rome could take from more productive cities, it's a little bit of, how to say, I don't know how to say it in English because it's a concept that I have very vaguely in my mind.
If you want, you can try in Italian, and if I cannot translate, or we find a way to tell it in English.
Well, okay, in Italian, I would say it like in Roman, I would say voglia di fa, meaning it's not only voglia di fa, which is the will of making things. It's just make it happen. Because we in Rome like to make things whenever we want to, whenever we're ready. Yeah, we take our time having lunch and relaxing around and partying and whatever. Yeah, okay, but let's get to the point. Let's make things happen. So yes, there's a lot of movement, artistically speaking, but as on the one hand, art needs its space.
Finalize things is very difficult. You're telling that.
Yeah, I mean it's like things are there about to happen, but they never actually finalize. They never actually get to the point where they happen. They really are there. So we, for example, we are, I think this is crazy. Like we are the most important city in Italy and one of the more important cities in the world. And we don't have proper music festivals or proper places, like except the auditorium, which is a very good place, but it's not for every type of concert that you want to see. like if you want to have a big event, a big musical event in Rome, it's you either go to the auditorium or to the stadium. But and we don't have a festival, and it's hard because it's hard to put people together and to, I don't know, to bring them to events and to make happen the things that art wants to make happen. I don't know if it's clear.
Yeah, no, I see. The thing is that is the reason why I went away.
Yeah.
Because I'm, when I was in New York, they told me New York has a speed not possible, and to me it was the first time I was relaxed, because it is my speed. Yes. My relaxed speed is that, and I was constantly in Italy, and still sometimes, because it's also my job and it's part of my job, to push to make it happen, to push how can I say, to show how we activate our energies, and then we can relax.
Yeah.
But to be productive, finalizing, and in a certain way, and then you relax. And then I have all the time to push, because it looks like something that it's out of the mind, or we have to have the speed. No, it's the speed of some creative process, to me, when you optimize it. But again, it's probably me, it's probably my kind of vibe, it's probably the fact that I've always been in some sort useful because misplaced. So I was exactly the element that was useful to provoke what it lacked in some places. And the fact that for me it was amazingly frustrating, because to me it was yet done, and they couldn't go to that, because for the others was a problem that was yet done. They have to put their decisions into, and not to let it's done. Okay, we use it. No, we have to do it. Okay, but it's yet done. Yes. No, we have to do it. It will take 35 years, but it don't matter, it's the same. And to me, it's not the same, because you are, how can I say, making useless that person that feels now the energy to be useful. So you're crushing this person, because for you, the time is the time of Roman Empire. And if it's not you, it will be 3 generations after that. It has some sense somewhere. But for a living person that wants to say something, perhaps you are asking a bit too much. Yeah. But it's a system, it's not the individuals. The individuals now, they're really doing, etc. Because on this side, internet, the fact that you can put your music without being physically somewhere to make it arise somewhere has made completely difference. For me, it's different because I work with physical people.
Yeah,
and physical vibes of the place, it's a bit different. So I must be in a place in which it's not constantly just opposing, because we are different. And there is, how can I say, nothing bad about.
No, but I know I'm totally getting your vibe, and I'm on the same vibe. I mean, yeah, take your time, but do not take too much time. Make it happen.
No time, but tell me if you, in those criteria, we are going to finish. Otherwise, you're just telling me that you won't collaborate with me, but we don't have a segment together enough to make something properly.
No, I know. Yeah, that's the thing. That's the thing about Rome, that it's the bad vibe.
But for other things, it's a fantastic city.
Yes, it is. And I still prefer it to Milan. I still prefer Rome to Milan.
But Milan is not far if you need,
no.
And if you want, As we were saying with another one, it has many good aspects not to be in the center of the town that you need, because if you have access to it's enough.
Yeah.
And from of course you have. With the train now, it doesn't take so much.
No, it's quite easy.
And then of the Paghi, of course, you don't know, we will not know, but she lives in a fantastic place that was exactly in front of where I've lived for a few years in Rome. That is a very nice place in Rome. Where you have how can I say, some part of this very magical vibe of Rome, and you can be pretty creative and pretty effective, because there are many crafts into the center of Rome, still with a great production and very, I'm going to say, concretely productive. They don't waste time on those because they can't, and because they take the time to do things, but they're effective too. And this is also a vibe that when I was there, to me, it was very relaxing and very interesting because I felt that productivity somewhere. So it was not just frustrating, of course. Otherwise, I would not be staying there. The time I've been that I loved. No, I was just in another phase. I had to change it because I had another phase, you know.
Yeah.
And you have to, when it is, you have to.
Yes.
Otherwise, you are going against you and against your growth. It doesn't work. It doesn't work. Thank you very much for having been here.
Thank you.
And as usual, you will have everything about her in the description and some music from her, of course.
Sit down.